Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today. We got Jake Arrieta over my shoulder. Remember that great second half he had on his way to his Cy Young Award? Let's see if we can have that much of a solid effort today on the show. I don't know. We'll give it our best shot. It's very difficult to play to a Cy Young level, as we're all aware. But we're going to give it a shot on the show today. Hope you're all doing well. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. You can find me here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Remember, Justin Fensterman's taking over Wednesday, so tomorrow he'll be on. But the show is here every day, Monday through Friday. It's on at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, and we talk sports. We've gone over the schedule a lot recently. I'll just do it one more time here. Again, I'm Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin will be on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, I'm on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio with Jeff Mann, so I'm on 3 hours on Wednesdays with him. Here, Mondays, I'm solo. Tuesdays, including today, I'll be visiting with Armando Marsal. Wednesdays will be Justin Fensterman and Fantasy Bosco, Rich Mileto. Thursdays will be me and Tyler Beaker. We'll do a lot of previewing of Thursday Night Football. And then Fridays will be myself and Russell Clay. All of those guests jumping in around 12:30 Eastern Time, about an hour into the show. Leave your comments and questions if you're watching us on Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. If you're on YouTube at YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. We'll get to those throughout the show, usually at the end of the show. But sometimes something pops and we address it during the show as well. But we always try to get to those in those two spots. You can also watch us live on Twitter X at Fantasy Guru site. You can find the show all the time over at FantasyGuru.com. Click that Elite Plus tab right at the top, and it'll take you to the page of all the podcasts and shows that we have. And then you can also watch us in your podcast network, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Music, whatever they're calling it these days. So just type in Fantasy Sports Daily there. What are we talking about today? Well, here we go. This is what we're talking about today. Shohei Ohtani, the greatness of Shohei Ohtani. We'll discuss that. We'll also talk about Fernando Tatis and his return to the diamond. What does that mean for you and for the Padres? Joe Musgrove, Justin Verlander, Bryan Reynolds, Shea Langoliers, Teoscar Hernandez, Ty France, and Lane Thomas. Now, I was good today because I could have let off with the injuries, and I really want to. So I'm probably going to go really quickly through the highlights so we can talk about Kyle Tucker. Did you see the Kyle Tucker news yesterday? Did you see it? We'll talk about it here in a few minutes. Gerrit Cole, is he hurt or not? Seems like it's a no. Justin Steele, woof. Updates on deGrom, Scherzer, Darvish, Heel, and Trevor Story, an old friend, might be coming back soon to a ballpark near you. Then we'll talk to Armando Marsal, and as you can see there, we've got a lot of things to discuss. I am tired of the Jamar Chase questions. You all need to make your decision on what you want to do with Jamar Chase. We'll ask Armando Marsal for the definitive final answer to the question, what do you do with Jamar Chase if you're still drafting? Zach Moss, Chase Brown, what's going on in the backfield with the Bengals? What's going on in the backfield with the Broncos? What about the backfield with the Chiefs now that CH is going to miss the first 4 games of the season? How aggressive do we get with Perine? Obviously, Marquise Brown's out in week 1. What does that mean for Xavier Worthy? What's going on in the backfield with the Cowboys? We got a report suggesting something that we didn't expect. Doesn't mean anything. We'll talk about that. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and the New York Giants. Those will be the discussion points with Armando Marsal here in a bit. Before we get to the show, I see a note here from Chris D. Let's talk about it early. Morning, Ray. First year playing fantasy baseball and clinched a playoff berth. Just want to say thank you to Fantasy Guru site for all the advice this year. That's fantastic, Chris. The fact that you can make the playoffs in year 1, it's not easy making the playoffs no matter what format you're playing in. Kudos to you. I'm glad we can help you to have that success. Let's bring it home now. Let's get into that finals and give ourselves a shot to win. That is great work, Chris. Congratulations. Appreciate the thanks. And give yourself a pat on the back for the hard work that you put in to making that happen. Congratulations. Good accomplishment. But we're not done yet. We got to go one more step. We got to get that championship. Shohei Ohtani had 2 hits, 2 walks, 3 steals yesterday. And, a while ago, maybe a month ago, people were saying, look, all of a sudden, hey, man, this guy's going 40-40 this year. And then about 2 weeks ago, people started saying, could he go 50-50? And right now, he's up to 44 home runs and 46 steals with the 3 steals yesterday. And Phil Backert, who does, work for the IDP in football, who does work for the cheat sheets on the DFS world in baseball, sent me a note and he said, how high do we rank Shohei Ohtani's season this year if he goes 50-50? It's a great question. Shohei Ohtani is so miraculous that we are almost overlooking the fact, because he's not pitching, right? He's on pace to go 50-50. Wow. Oh, and by the way, he's an all-star caliber pitcher too. For all the people that have argued with me over the years that Shohei Ohtani is not the best player in baseball and not the greatest baseball player of all time, I don't know how you defend it. How do you defend not choosing him? His ability to do everything on a baseball field is unmatched in baseball history. Period. The only player that you can make the argument for was Babe Ruth, and I think we can all agree that if those two guys lined up against one another, Ohtani would beat Ruth, right? He's going to go 50-50. Is it going to happen? As long as he doesn't get hurt. He stole 3 bases last night. He clearly wants 50-50. We'll see. But just a tip of the cap. Shohei Ohtani killing it for us in the fantasy space. The only negative is he qualifies at UT. And I have him in Tout Wars, and there have been many times this season where I haven't made moves I wanted to make because, the way that league is set up, if you add a player, he has to go into your starting lineup. So it's kind of hampered me a little bit. I don't think most people have that rule at all, where you can just add anyone you want at any point and put them in your lineup. So it's not an issue at all. But yeah, this is, I can't say that I don't like the fact that I got a guy going 50-50 in my UT spot. So I'll live with it. Shohei Ohtani is just miraculous. Now, a guy who's a 30-30 talent, we've all seen it at the big league level. Fernando Tatis, he had the leg issue. Wasn't supposed to be that big of a deal. They said he probably could have played through it. He then went out on June 21st on the injury list. He wasn't back on July 21st. He wasn't back on August 21st. Remember, they kind of hinted he could play through this, but he missed over 2.5. He missed about 2.5 months. He's back in the lineup now. He returned yesterday, went 0 for 4 with a strikeout. We'll see. He's got the month of September now to create some good vibes heading into next season. He's got the month of September to be a difference-making player. Tatis is, we forget at times, that's not getting back. Who's the name? I can't even think of anyone on the injury list. Let me pull up one of my teams. I'm thinking about so many things in the background. I can't even put things together. That's not like getting back Esteury Ruiz. Bad example, but I'm just looking at my Dynasty League team. That's getting back a guy who could be a star in the fantasy space. Fernando Tatis back in the lineup yesterday. Might see a day or two off here in the short term as they manage things and make sure he's okay. But he's back and he's ready to rock. And the Padres have got some good vibes going on right now. Manny Machado is killing it. The addition of Tatis at the top of the order obviously benefits Machado as well. Luis Arias is doing well. Jake Cronenworth's not a bad hitter. Jackson Merrill, obviously. Xander Bogaerts. It's a pretty good lineup. Adding back Tatis, it becomes a very good lineup potentially for the Padres. Joe Musgrove, another Padre, recorded 8 strikeouts over 6 shutout innings against the Tigers. He appears to be back. It's been an up and down season for him. It hasn't been quite the level of expectations because he's dealt with some injuries and all of that. But he's had 8 strikeouts in 2 of his last 3 starts since he returned to action. He's gone 6 frames in each of his last 3 outings, so he's giving some depth. In the 5 starts since he's back from the injury list, he's looked good. And this is great to see because we had really not seen Musgrove we hadn't seen the Musgrove we expected for the majority of the first half, either because of poor performance or because of injury. But he's back now. He faces the Giants on Sunday, and there's no reason not to be rolling Musgrove out there, as I'm assuming you are all doing, on a daily basis. Let's go. Justin Verlander is someone we've talked about over and over again here on the show, and it's just not happening for Verlander this year. Give up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings against the Reds. I know people were talking about starting him twice this week, and I was like, he's facing the Diamondbacks on the weekend. That's not good. The Diamondbacks are killing it. The Reds took advantage of him. I mean, we have to face facts with Verlander. He took 2.5 months to come back from a neck injury that the Astros told us would take a couple of days. Well, more on the Astros in a bit. He's 3-5 with a 4.5 ERA and a 1.3 WHIP. I mean, he is no longer Justin Verlander. Could he return to be Justin Verlander next year? Maybe. I kind of doubt it. He's chasing history, so he'll be back and all of that. But he's just a guy. The ERA is just a guy. The WHIP is just a guy. The record's just a guy. The strikeouts are just a guy. He's just a guy. And just recalibrate, right? It's not that he can't be utilized and all that, but just recalibrate because he's no longer Justin Verlander. He's just a guy. And I would not be at all excited at all about pitching him this weekend against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, tons of news with Diamondbacks here. With the Astros here. If you missed it, the GM Dana Brown of the Astros said that Ronel Blanco, who's been terrific this season, right, saved the Astros and all of us in the fantasy space. Blanco is the most likely candidate to move to the bullpen when the team changes from a 6-man rotation to a 5-man rotation. So Blanco is headed to the bullpen. We don't know if that means he makes his next start on Sunday against the Diamondbacks or not. There's a chance he makes that start and it's his final start, and then he goes to the bullpen. There's a chance he goes to the bullpen prior to that. So the bottom line is Ronel Blanco, one start, it sounds like max, barring injuries, and you never know, right? But he's almost certain to end up in the bullpen by next week, if not later this week. So for those of you, this is another one of those scenarios. We've talked about it over and over again. These guys with the workload issues, how are teams going to handle things in the month of September? They're going to bullpen these guys. They're going to shut them down. They're going to limit their pitches and innings and their outings like they're doing with Gerrit Crochet in Chicago. But Blanco, maybe one more start, might be it. Again, barring an injury, something can happen the next day or two where they have to leave him in the rotation. But it seems like Ronel Blanco's headed to the bullpen in short order for the Astros. Just a shout out to Bryan Reynolds yesterday, 3-run home run yesterday for him. It's his third home run in 7 games. He's in a nice hot streak right now, is Bryan Reynolds of the Pirates. He's got 22 home runs on the season, 77 RBIs. And, here we go again. Bryan Reynolds. Who's Bryan Reynolds? He's just a guy. I'll take Bryan Reynolds. Okay. And nothing Bryan Reynolds does is outstanding. But he's hitting .282 with 22 home runs, 77 RBIs. He's stolen 9 bases, and he scored 65 runs. He's going to do what he's done each of the last 3 years, which is hit .280 with 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 80 runs scored. He's just good. He's just good. And there is certainly value to a guy like Bryan Reynolds because of that stability factor. There's so many guys that are up and down on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And Bryan Reynolds is just like a smooth wine. It's like a Bogle wine. That's for you, Jeff Mance. He's like a Bogle wine, just smooth. It's not a superstar. It's not some $600 bottle of wine. Just a nice sipping wine. Kind of like Bryan Reynolds, a nice sipping player. Pretty good action this season from Bryan Reynolds, as should be expected from anyone at this point. And by the way, he did sign that extension with the Pirates, and good for him. I've said this all forever. If someone's going to offer me $100 million, I'm going to take it. He got offered 107. He took it for 8 years. He's kind of underpaid, man. $13 million a year through 2030. By the time his contract's over, he won't. This is it. This is a big deal, right? He's not getting another one. He'll be 36 years old when this contract ends. Wait, let me count. 29, 30, 4, 6. Yeah, he'll be 34 years old. He's not going to get another big contract. But it's $100 million, and he must like playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pirates are getting their money's worth there because he's a really good baseball player. What could have been when he was with the San Francisco Giants? What could have been? Good job, Giants. By the way, let's move on. Shea Langoliers going to the Bay Area. Shea Langoliers went 2 for 4 with a pair of home runs, 4 RBIs. Shea Langoliers has gone full Cal Raleigh on everybody. And we wrote about him in the preseason over at fantasyguru.com. There was a player profile. I should have pulled it up today. And I said, if everything goes right, we can dream a dream. And it's 30 home runs. It's up to 25 home runs and 68 RBIs. There's a chance he gets to that 30 home run plateau. There's a chance he goes 30-80. And even if he goes 25-75, even if he doesn't hit another home run the rest of the season, it's a huge win. Because, again, he's basically been Cal Raleigh. And the cost was way low. He was a middling second catcher. Maybe not even. I'd have to look up the ADP. I can't remember offhand. Was he catcher 22? Like, was he in the top 25 at catcher? Yeah. Was he in the top 20? I don't think he was. If he was, he was just outside of that. A big key for him this year is he's cut the strikeout rate. 35% in very limited work as a rookie, 29% last year, 27% this year. With that power, making more contact, it's not a complicated game sometimes. So just wanted to give him a shout out because I have Langoliers in a couple of leagues. I'm sure you do as well. Gone full Cal Raleigh. It's pretty damn impressive given the cost was so small on draft day. Teoscar Hernandez had his 3rd game of 5 hits last night. He also stole his 10th base. Now, Teoscar Hernandez went to the Dodgers, and it's easy to forget about him because the Dodgers have obviously so many weapons. Let's check in on Teoscar Hernandez. He's gone 28-10, so he's going to go 30-10. That will be the second time he's done that. He did that back in 2021. The batting average is .270, which is right about his career mark, so nothing crazy there. The steals are nice to get 10. It's better than 5. Nothing substantial, but okay. 28 home runs, 87 RBIs, 73 runs scored. He's a slightly sexier version of Bryan Reynolds, is Teoscar Hernandez, because of his ability to hit the 30 home runs, but a very similar player. Same thing. Last 3 years, basically been the same guy. He had a career best season in 2021. He's always probably going to be chasing that. With a huge final month, he could get to those levels. We'll see. But the fact is, he's just really good, and he's continued to be really good. The batting average piece, we'll see. Does he have a slump and finish at 258? Does he stay strong and hit 275? That'll go a long way to ultimately determining what his overall outlook is this season. But the fact is, he's produced as expected. A good signing by the Dodgers, and great for your fantasy squad if you spent the price to add him to your team. Ty France went 4 for 4 with the run scored, a double and an RBI against the Astros on Monday. He's seen a lot of time at first base now for the Reds. Heimer Candelario is hurt. The guy he was basically sharing first base with, Dominic Smith, has been designated for assignment. So it's the Ty France zone, and Ty France is a very solid major league hitter. He's batting 284, with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs in 29 games. Again, very solid major league hitter. Does not transition to a very exciting fantasy play. He doesn't steal. He's really a 15 to 20 home run guy, so he doesn't have that power you want. Could he hit 290 the rest of the season? Yeah, he could do that. Could he hit 250 the rest of the season? He could. He's a professional hitter, as they call them, but nothing he does is sexy. Though, again, he's playing most days for the Reds, and he's not producing poorly, even if he's not producing over the top. And finally, before we start getting into it with the injuries, Lane Thomas went 2 for 4 with a 2-run home run and a stolen base last night. That was his first home run in 30 games with the Guardians. Oof. Eesh. Oof. That's just... He has not hit since he's joined the Guardians. And it got so bad recently that in my Tout Wars league, I actually benched him last week. And he's on my bench this week. And guess what? Now, because of the huge game yesterday, and because actually the huge final 2 games he's had, he's 9 for his last 20, by the way. He's now hitting 325. He's hitting 325 the last 2 weeks. The last month, he's hitting 195. So that's how bad he was and how good he is now. He's now 9 for his last 20 with 2 steals and a home run. So right about the point where it looked like he was going to lose his spot. I mean, he was theoretically going to lose his spot in the lineup. They were considering just platooning him and having him face left-handed pitching. He's done it. He's rebounded. And now he's back. At least the last week, he's been really good. So there is a chance, especially if you're in those head-to-head leagues, people get aggressive and playoffs, and he hasn't hit in 2 weeks. Maybe Lane Thomas is on the waiver wire. You might want to check that, because all of a sudden it looks like he's found the secret sauce that he certainly had lost prior to that. Let's talk a little bit about Max Tucker. Max Tucker. Where did that come from? Kyle Tucker. A quick recap. Kyle Tucker hits a ball off his shin. The Astros say he's okay. He's not great, but he's okay. He'll be fine. A couple of days later, he'll be okay. Then he's put on the injured list. Then he'll have a short stay on the injured list. Then it goes on and on and on and on and on. And we're 3 months later. We have all speculated, because it was called for 2 3/4 for 3 months. Let's just call it 2 3/4. The injury was called a bruised shin. And all of us sat here and said, what the frick kind of bruise keeps you out of action for 3 months? Asked over and over again. No. The story in The Athletic is the following. Three people talked to the Athletics and said that Tucker sustained a fracture of his shin. So the team says, no, he didn't ever fracture his shin. The Athletic comes out and says, well, we got 3 sources that said he fractured his shin. What say you? The GM of the Astros on Saturday, the GM, who's supposed to know everything, and I kind of think for his best player, he probably knows. Dana Brown, the GM of the Astros, comes out on Saturday when this story is coming out and says he did not fracture his shin. Monday, 48 hours later, the GM comes out and says, oh, well, yeah, he did fracture his shin. It was a small fracture. Kyle Tucker comes out and says, yeah, they found a small fracture in my shin. I mean, I hate to do this, but they lied to us. Point blank, period. They lied to us. And for what purpose? They gained no advantage. This is not like we're in the playoffs in the NHL and we don't want everyone to know he tweaked his wrist. This is not like it's the Super Bowl and we don't want anyone to know if our kick returner is going to play today. Regular season games in the middle of July. There's no benefit. They lied. The GM, as recently as Saturday, was saying there was no fracture, and then on Monday said there was a fracture. Did the Astros run a whole series of tests after 3 months that they never ran previously, and oh my, they just discovered the fracture? Are we really supposed to believe that? So this is infuriating. Because remember, when this injury occurred, they said he wouldn't even end up on the injured list. And we've gone over this a lot, the Justin Verlander situation. Now we got the Kyle Tucker. You can't, and now we have the Ronel Blanco, if I'm pulling it together, maybe completely out my butt. But Ronel Blanco to the bullpen. Is he going to the bullpen? Can we trust anything the Astros say? If you're a beat reporter for the Astros and they sat there and told you for 3 months that he didn't have a fractured chin, and then they come out when they're pressured, which is what it appears like, when they're pressured by the truth, when the Athletic finds out, well, do we trust anything the Astros say? Can we? Kyle Tucker could be back this week. Do we trust that? They're saying he could be back at the end of the week. Do we believe it? They lied to us for months. And they could have run testing initially and not determined it was fractured. Yes, that could have happened. They never imaged it in the last 2 months. Of course they did. They knew. They didn't tell us. For what purpose? Great. Gerrit Cole left his start last night. He's pitching really well. He left the start last night with a calf injury. Everyone panicked. Do we believe the Yankees? If you do, it's supposed to be a cramp and no big deal. I'm inclined to believe them with this. He pitched his 6 innings. He left the game last night in the 7th inning. Let's call it a cramp. Let's be comfortable with that. Seems like he's fine. It seems like he should make his next start. There we go. So it seems like everything is okay with Gerrit Cole. On the other side of things, we know things are not okay with Justin Steele. Justin Steele was supposed to start today for the Cubs. He's been scratched because of a sore left elbow. Craig Counsell, the manager, was talking about it. The GM was talking about it. They don't know how long Steele's going to be out. We are being told that in 24 to 48 hours, they will have a plan of action as to what's going on here. So we all collectively hold our breath. There is a chance that Justin Steele's season is over. Obviously, there is a chance that he's making a start next week. There's a chance he's going on the injured list and maybe he gets a start or two toward the end. We just don't know. So the bottom line is here, we're all just in wait and see mode. What is out there eating? Oh, it's a little bird. Got a bunch of things. We threw some new seeds out to I see the squirrel going to town. There's a little tiny bird. I do have squirrels out in my office. My office overlooks the view, and so there's trees and things in the back. There's little tiny birds, and a squirrel looking at me right now is eating sunflower seeds. There's a chance that Justin Steele is done for the year. There's a chance he's back next week. There's a chance that he's going on the injured list and he makes a start or two at the end of the year. We just don't know. We'll find out in the next 24 to 48 hours. I had a question today already. What do I do? I'm in the fantasy playoffs. I mean, Justin Steele could make his next start. Is that likely? Probably not. Is it more likely than not he's ending on the injured list? Yeah. Is it more likely than not that his season is over? I think that's a fair guess. But we will see soon what the Cubs intend to do with their number one pitcher, Justin Steele. Speaking of guys coming back, going in the other direction, Jacob deGrom said the Rangers in here discussing him coming back this weekend. Instead of making the one final rehab start, we have heard all along the number of starts he was going to make in the minor leagues. Apparently, and this is how these things go sometimes, they've decided to maybe change that. He threw 48 pitches at his top in his 3 rehab starts, 2 2/3 innings at his top. Would they activate him and let him throw 55 pitches? Maybe. They would basically consider it a bullpen day. Maybe they do that. He's clearly seems healthy. He's hitting 98 to 100 on the gun as Jacob deGrom. So it sounds like he could be back and return as early as this weekend. Now, if that happens, let's all run to the waiver wire and add Jacob deGrom. No. He hasn't even thrown 50 pitches or thrown 3 innings yet. So, is he going to be even going 5 innings? It might be 2 or 3 starts before he even gets up to the workload level of being able to throw 5 innings. It's already September. So let's say he's got 5 starts the rest of the way, and 2 of those he doesn't throw 5 innings. Are you desperate for that? You might as well just grab Matt Stram off the waiver wire, right? He's got a chance to pick up a victory late in the game at least. or even get a save. That's not something that's going to happen to Jacob deGrom throwing 3 innings to start a game. So we'll see what the information is and all of that. But right now, there's a chance he's back this weekend, even though he's nowhere close to throwing 5 innings. Now, the negative is that, well, I guess it's a positive. I guess that Max Scherzer, his teammates, making strides in the right direction. He's missed about a month with shoulder fatigue. He's going to make a rehab start on Saturday. There you go. So we'll see. If that goes well, Scherzer will be back in the big leagues next week. So it's possible that deGrom and Scherzer are both back in the rotation for the Rangers next week. That's certainly a possibility. Scherzer would likely have a higher pitch count right at the hop than deGrom, though. He'd be more likely to be a guy that would go deep enough into a game for a victory, though Scherzer's had so many starts and stops this year. We have to look at him. I'm not saying he's Justin Verlander because we just don't know. We haven't seen him out there enough. We have to look at him more as Justin Verlander, just a guy, than Max Scherzer. That's just where we're at the moment. I see a question here. I thought I saw a question here. Angela, there's Angela's question. Do we trust Yu Darvish tomorrow? Yu Darvish is set to come off the injured list tomorrow. He suffered a groin injury on May 29th. He hasn't pitched in 500 years. He threw 66 pitches in a simulated game. I'm not starting him tomorrow. I mean, could he throw 75 pitches back? Sure, he could. We haven't seen him in 14 years. If you're in the fantasy playoffs, Angelo, and head-to-head, I can't. In a roto, I just don't want to. I mean, again, where is he at? I don't know. And again, not only is where is he at, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't officially thrown 70 pitches in any kind of rehab outing at all, not even 70 pitches. So I just can't. I'm not saying you can't add him and hope that next week, 72 pitches in the next week, sure. But right now, I just can't feel confident in starting him. Next guy up is Luis Heel. Luis Heel's got a back strain that he's on the injured list. He's ready to return this weekend. He's likely to start this weekend for the Yankees. He had a rehab start on Sunday last week. Gave up 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings. Okay. He should face the Cubs and is turned back through the rotation. Now, it's really interesting. If Cole is healthy and if Clark Schmidt is back in short order as he's expected, do the Yankees go 6-man rotation? Do they change the starting rotation? If they change the starting rotation, do they leave Nestor Cortez in the rotation? Or do they do what I think is likely? Luis Heel goes to the bullpen. I was reading an article in the Post about this. It's a very real possibility that Heel makes the start this weekend and they shift him to the bullpen to keep him healthy, to keep him active for the playoffs. Remember, his workload is shot through the roof compared to where he used to be. He's coming off a back injury now. We'll see what the Yankees do, but there is a chance that Heel is moved to the bullpen a la Ronel Blanco here after the weekend start. We'll see how that goes first, of course, because we got to make sure he's healthy and able to execute his pitches and get batters out. Finally, before we go to Armando Marsal, Trevor Story played 5 innings at shortstop. He did go over 3, but he played 5 innings at shortstop in his second minor league rehab game on Monday. He went 2 for 4 on Sunday when he was DH. It sounds like he's been out with the torn labrum in his shoulder. He could be activated as soon as this weekend. Like there's a report in the Boston Globe that says that's possible. Again, it's really difficult to feel confident about, hey, I'm going to start, Trevor Story on week 1, day 1 next week, right? But let's not forget, despite the struggles, despite the missed time, despite the holes in his game, the Trevor Story is a 2020 threat. He's a 2020 talent, and he is somebody that has, on occasion, had massive periods of production over 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I wouldn't be expecting that to occur down the stretch here, but just a little FYI, we do have a scenario where we've got Mr. Trevor Story potentially back in a movie theater near you as early as next week. I will come back to your comments here. I see a few of them coming down. Oh, and Angelo says, yeah, Yu Darvish is on your IL. I would just leave him there for now. Let him make the start, and then we'll make a decision, Angelo, on what to do with him right after that. All right. So let's get rid of the little diagram there, and let's talk a little bit of football with our man, Armando Marsal. We're going to change the schedule up again. Mondays, I'm solo. Tuesdays, Armando's going to be visiting us about 12:30 Eastern time. Wednesdays, it's Justin Fensterman and Rich Miletto. Rich will come in at about 12:30. Thursdays, it'll be me and Tyler Beaker, 12:30. These are all Eastern times. And then Friday, me and Russell Clay at 12:30. So it's a Tuesday. He's changed up days for us. This will be his new home throughout the rest of the regular season. At least that's our plan. You never know when things might change, but that's the plan. Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Hey, Armando, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Ray, and yourself?
Doing okay. There's a lot going on. It's a busy
Busy
where.
time of year.
Yeah,
Busy time of year.
got
Week 1 of the NFL, right? It's right here. It's what we've been waiting for.
Is it? I don't know. I guess it is.
Ah,
You know what? You know what? I'll be honest with you. And we're going to get into this with the first question I want to have. I'm interested for the season to start because, when you're on our end, we got a bunch of great users over at fantasyguru.com. And, not everyone's spending an hour going through Discord answers. So you've gotten the same question in some form 37 times over the last 3 weeks. I've got it there. So it'll be nice to let's just get into more of the nuts and bolts of what's going on. By the way, he's Armando Marsal. You can find him at Armando_Marsal on Twitter X. You can go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find his podcast there, Mind of Marsal. And again, you can hear him every Tuesday here on this show. So I'm kind of looking forward to the season starting for that reason. Before I dive in, Jeff Mans loves football season because Monday is this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday. I hate it because I feel like I have no freedom. Like it's just I got to do. Do you like it or dislike the routine of the week?
I love it. I truly love the same way. It's because it gives you a set schedule. You know what you're doing at this time. You know what you're doing at that time. You know what, Monday to every day there's a routine. And it's now, the next 18 weeks and then even into the playoffs. So it's good to have that, consistency in your schedule. For me, I love it. I absolutely love it.
If you want to get Armando's work, if you want to get my work, if you want to get Jeff's and the whole crew, go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can see a bunch of information there on the screen too if you're watching along with us. You can sign up for the seasonal package. You can sign up for the DFS package. You can sign up for the wagering package. You can sign up for all three of them. Get crazy. Get all three of them. You can send a note to support@fantasyguru.com if you want to bundle everything up. You want to get the VIP Platinum package, get everything from every sport, which would include my work on baseball, Armando's work on basketball. Support@fantasyguru.com there. But yeah, all the packages are available from now through the regular season. So we got you covered. Let's dive in, Armando, and talk about the question everyone's asking, the question that there is no answer to, but the question keeps getting asked. Ja'Marr Chase. Give a soundbite answer. Give me a 90-second answer to what we do with Ja'Marr Chase so I can just tell everyone, go check the video out to answer this question because it's coming in every 15 minutes in Discord.
So I got that question several times yesterday. I've gotten it today. I actually was doing my draft when one of the questions came in, and I said it. Look, I took him 5th overall. I am still taking him in the first round. It's just a matter of risk tolerance, I think, right? I think it's a matter of, are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to take the chance? Like, we know the worst case scenario, what it can be, right? Which means he doesn't sign, doesn't play. You exhausted a first round pick on a player that doesn't play. That's huge. Like, it's not good. You're already started off, on the wrong foot here. So if you do that, you have to prepare accordingly, draft accordingly, like go very aggressive early on with the receiver. Don't wait for that 4th receiver, as late as you normally would. Don't wait for that, 5th receiver, maybe as you normally would. So I'm drafting him. But if you don't want to take the risk, I totally understand. Again, it's a matter of whether you want to risk it or not. I'm still hopeful. I know he was in practice yesterday from what I read, but he didn't participate, but he was there. So I'm still hopeful that something gets worked out, but it is riskier. As we get closer to the season, it gets riskier and riskier and riskier. And that's just a matter of whether you want to take the risk or not, Ray.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a chance, let's say he signs tomorrow, hypothetically. Does he play 90% of the snaps in week 1? Does he play 42% of the snaps in week 1? Like, there's that chance too. So, I've said this so many times. If you don't want to take Chase, if you're concerned about it, don't take Chase. Just grab CeeDee Lamb. Like, it's not that complicated, right? There's a guy right there. If you don't want CeeDee Lamb, grab Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to catch 100 pounds. Just grab. If you have the question of should I do it, my advice generally is don't do it. Because if you're asking the question, you have trepidation, which is fine. Because none of us know. He may not play this season. None of us know. I mean, the likelihood of that happening is, but it's there. Just grab one of these other guys because, it's like you said, it's a first-round pick. If you take, Jonathan Taylor in the first round, he tears his ACL in week 1, how are you feeling about that, right? So it's a weird question that keeps coming up because it's like, and Jeff Mann said this as well, and I want to get your take on this. You're either in or you're out on Ja'Marr Chase. If you want to say Ja'Marr Chase is your number 1 or your number 4 or whatever, fine. But the idea of, do I take him at pick 11 or do I take him at pick 13? You're either taking him or you're not, right? It's either he's a first guy and you're feeling good about it or you're not. There's no, oh, he's now my 19th ranked player on the board kind of thing. It's either you're in or you're out. That's what Jeff says. I agree with that. What do you say to that, Armando?
Agree 100%. I've been in the entire time. It's just I'm not turning back now. Like that's it. We're all the way in here. Kind of what we discussed with Brandon and you, kind of the same thing where it's you were either in or out. We've been in, and the same with Chase. I'm in, and if he doesn't play, I understood the risk when I drafted him, and I think that's the only thing you can do as a fantasy manager.
All right, Armando, let's move on from that. Good answer. We've got a couple of backfields in week 1 that we know or we believe are going to be productive. The Bengals and the Broncos. In the case of the Bengals, we got 2 guys. In the case of the Broncos, it kind of looks like we got 3 guys that are going to be involved here in week 1. How are we handling these backfields? Are we kind of, break glass in case of emergency with these guys in week 1? Are we saying, well, it's Moss and it's Javonte Williams and let's go? Like, how are you handling this without seeing how a game is actually played with those 2 squads?
I probably would view them more as flex options, right? I wouldn't want to necessarily count on them as my RB2 maybe. I think it's going to be some type of committee with these backfields, right? I think we expected that going into the season, whether it's a 60-40, whether it's a 55-45, whether it's a 70-30. That remains to be seen because we haven't seen, the game plan yet. I do think, if I'm talking about both of these backfields, I'm okay with starting Javonte Williams in your flex. I'm okay with starting Zach Moss in your flex. You might have to start them as your RB2. Am I overly confident that they're going to see the majority of the snaps and the opportunity? No, but I do think that if there is a committee there in Denver if there is a committee there in Cincinnati, I do think that they're going to get at least 55 to 60% of those opportunities. And that's what when I went into the season, that's what I was drafting them with that mindset.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com joining me here on the show as he will every Tuesday moving forward. Armando, let's talk about the backfield with the Chiefs. I even got the nebulous question this morning in Discord. Experts are saying, I don't know who these experts are. Experts are saying that Samaje Perine is a must-add. Okay, so let's break down what's going on. Everyone wanted CEH. Then everyone wanted Carson Steele. Now everyone wants Samaje Perine. We want Isiah Pacheco. Everyone knows that. What do we do with the backup here? Because CH is going to miss at least 4 weeks. He's on the shelf with the PTSD stuff. Perine was added. Perine's obviously a very solid football player. He can pass block. He can catch passes. He can play 3 downs if necessary, all these kind of things. What are we doing with the backfield? How aggressive do we get with Perine? What is Perine's role? And if you don't have Pacheco, is Perine one of these guys you're scrambling to add off the waiver wire?
Yes, I'm adding Perine off the waivers in any league that I can. Now, it depends on who you're cutting in order to add Perine, right? Like I've been asked a lot of questions. Vidal is one that we're getting a lot of questions. Yep. And right now, I do prefer rostering Perine. We've talked about what Vidal is. He's a stash. And I think Perine is going to have some type of standalone value. I think he'll have a little role in the passing game. You mentioned that he's a good running back, right? He's not a superstar, but he's a good running back, and he brings like some of the intangibles, like the pass blocking, these things. And I think that's important in an Andy Reid offense. So I do think he's going to carve out a role there. Obviously everyone wants to, have Pacheco. If you have Pacheco, I think you should be prioritizing Perine here. But even if you don't, I do think he's a nice add. Like you mentioned, I think if Pacheco were to miss any time, Perine could step into that 3-down role. We've seen that, in the past when he's needed to fill in. So I do think he's capable of filling in that role. So I do think he's a strong add. It depends on your roster and who you're trying to cut. I'm not going to cut, Blake Corum for Perine. I'm not going to, cut Trey Benson for Perine. It's a matter of your bench size and who you're giving up in order to, add Perine there.
I spent about 10 minutes talking about the backup running back handcuff scenario yesterday. People missed it. Episode, was it 219 yesterday? I think was what it was. That was 219 yesterday. Let me make sure I say that properly. As I could find it here. Yes, it was 219. It says 22,000 million zillion here. That's not correct. It's episode 220 today. I spent a lot of time talking about that, Armando, yesterday. And, the idea of we're hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping from guy to guy to guy. Vidal is somebody, I agree with you, that he's a long-term play. And when you say, I said the same thing about Isaac Arendo. If I have these guys on my roster, I'm not planning on starting them the first 4 weeks of the year. They're going to be starting for me in week 10, right? And knowing how people are, no one's going to keep a guy on their bench that's going to score 2 points a week for 10 weeks. So it's almost like people are asking a question that they already know the answer to. They're not going to have the patience to sit there with Kamani Vidal and wait. They're not. So those people should go grab Perine because Perine's going to give you 9 points a week. Now, Perine's going to score 8 or 9 points a week. He's not doing anything. Isn't that an issue too? Because, like, you know, what do we want this guy? Do we want Vidal when he takes over the backfield of the Chargers? Or do we want Samaje Perine running for 32 yards and catching 3 passes for 36 yards? Like, isn't that part of the question too? Like, what are you actually looking to accomplish? Are you trying to get a guy that can score you 16 points a week? Or are you just trying to get 8 points a week from somebody?
Correct. And I think that's huge, right? Like your roster context. This is why when you ask these questions, it's very important to give us all the information, because if you're a team that went 0 RB, right, and you drafted a bunch of these, you know, running backs that some don't have roles right now, but you're just kind of plugging away with these kind of guys, Perine could give you those 8-9 points that you need right now, given the way you drafted, right? Like there are teams that go in that direction and they're very weak at the running back position. If you're loaded at the running back position and you want just someone on your bench, like you mentioned, that like a Brooks, like we're talking about, like a Jalen Wright, Vidal, all of these players that we've already discussed and talked about, you want to hold those players there and stash them for that reason, because you don't need their services right now anyways. You already have a 3-4 running backs you can count on. These are guys just there for when that time comes, you can plug them in, and now you have a lot of different options, and you can even trade and things like that. But we're talking about 10 weeks down the line. But like you said, I think what your roster looks like, your roster context is going to matter whether you need Perine or not. I do think you should be handcuffing though. If you have Pacheco, I do think you should secure that backfield. And like you said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the end of the day is only scheduled to miss 4 weeks. Obviously we don't know if that's going to extend any further. We're not in that business of telling the future like that. But if he does come back after the month, guess what? He's familiar with this backfield. He knows the system. There's nothing. He just needs to get into playing shape, and that's it. Like he could get right back into that role that we expected, because I thought Edwards-Helaire was that handcuff, and I thought he was pretty secure there.
Martin Masala, fantasyguru.com. Staying with the Chiefs, Armando. Marquise Brown's not going to play this week, the big addition, right? He's out. The Chiefs, as you and I have discussed, have 47 wide receivers, it seems like. They're all fast, they're all athletic, and varying degrees of success at the NFL level. One of those guys is Xavier Worthy, of course. And everyone saw Xavier Worthy run like the Flash, right? He's kind of fast. We've also seen the video of him getting knocked over from a hand check. He's going to be in people's lineups this week. Is he a DFS play only? Is there a scenario where you could consider starting Xavier Worthy in his first game in the NFL because Brown is out in a traditional fantasy football setup this week? Talk us through it.
Yeah, I don't think I want to start Worthy in a redraft setting, right? I think outside of, very deep leagues or in situations where you just don't have many other options. But number one, we really don't know what his role is going to be in the offense. And number two, you mentioned that like he got pushed around, and this is now real game speed, a real game in the NFL. So for me, the way I view it is, if you have no other choice, maybe you're going to start Worthy. If I have several other choices, I prefer not having him in my lineup. I don't like starting players on week one that we don't have enough information about. There's not certainty, right? And we don't have any certainty in regards to his role, because they have Kelsey, all right? They have Rice, they have Pacheco. Yeah, you just mentioned. I mean, they have so many different guys here. So for me, you have to be in a bind, I think, to start Worthy this week.
Situation with the Cowboys is we're all trying to figure out the backfield here, right? It just looks like it's Ezekiel, Elliott, and Rico, Dowdle, and very uninspiring. Then they signed Dalvin Cook, still seems uninspiring, but now you've got Cook and Elliott, and then Rico, Dowdle. And now we get a report out of The Athletic from Todd Archer who says, and everyone gets nuts about this. A beat reporter says that it looks like Rico Dowdle might lead this backfield this year. What are we doing with the backfield? I mean, if you're starting any of these guys in week one, more power to you. You're braver than I am, and you might have a terrible team. But are you buying that report? I mean, Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott, Hall of Fame-ish careers. Rico Dowdle, what do you think is going on with this backfield with the Cowboys?
I think it's a complete mess. It really is, Ray. I mean, I think we're going to see a committee. This is an offensive line that got much worse this year. Like, that's something that I've been saying a lot, and it has to be known, right? This offensive got much worse. I think Dowdle could lead this backfield in opportunities and snaps, but what does that really mean? Like, what does that mean? Maybe it's a 40-30 split or something like that. I don't think he's going to handle upwards of 300 opportunities. I don't think he's going to be an every down back, a workhorse like that. though I do think, he's probably going to lead, the backfield in opportunities. But again, it doesn't mean anything. I'm staying away from this backfield. I've been staying away. I do expect a full-blown committee. Like, I was okay with Elliott maybe, before the Cook situation, but now they're going to have Cook, Elliott, and Dowdle all involved. I'm out.
Mark Andrews, obviously top 5 tight end. So when you draft and you just put him in the lineup, don't worry about it. It feels great and all that. He had a car accident and he really didn't do much for about 3 weeks. And no one really talked about it. And because it wasn't everyone thought he was okay and he'd done a cast on. He wasn't having surgery. And, he returned to practice on Friday last week. So it looks like he's good to go. Any concerns with him in week 1? Or is it just, hey, it's a tight end position anyway? Like, what am I going to grab off the waiver wire? I got no choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you drafted Mark Andrews, you're playing him this week. There has to be, Dalton Kincaid on the waivers, something that's not, that you won't see. But for me, you're playing him. If he gets off to a slow start, it's okay. Just understand, he was, like you mentioned, he was out multiple weeks. He was in a car accident. So don't be shocked if it's a slow start, But I'm sorry in every league that I have him.
The follow-up, obviously, is Isiah Likely. Some people have, bought the whole kit and caboodle. He's going to run out wide. They're starting Isiah Likely, expecting him to get 14 points a week. Is Isiah Likely in play for week 1 because of the offense, because of the concerns with Andrews? Or are you like me, which is, no, we're not starting Isiah Likely unless we're just trying to make a point for some reason?
No, I'm not starting Likely unless Mark Andrews is out. That's the only time I start Likely. If you watch the numbers, you look at the numbers and that stuff, it's basically Andrews comes out, Likely steps in, same role. That's how they use it. I don't think they're going to utilize on both. I think there's some people out there that think that they are.
Let's talk about the Giants offense. Armando Marcel, fantasyguru.com. They've got Daniel Jones under center for better or worse. He's active. Given their roster, it's probably for better, but still, there's questions there. They lost Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Darren Waller retired. They brought in Malik Neighbors. Like, a lot of things are changing here, but there's a lot of similarities. Slayton's still around, Bellinger, blah, blah, blah. What does this Giants offense look like, and particularly Malik Neighbors? Is it 10 targets a week for Malik Neighbors just because? Is it we should be talking more about Wendell Robinson and Darius Slayton, and they're going to drop the ball off to Devin Singletary? Oh, and by the way, they're only going to throw it 25 times a week, so that – talk us through what this offense looks like and what some early season expectations are for you with Malik Neighbors.
So I like Neighbors quite a bit. He was one of my guys that, I wrote in the article and I talked about in the podcast. And I think he's just going to see an abundance of opportunities. I think his floor is 8 to 9 targets per week. I think could be his floor. I think he's going to be their primary guy. I do agree that there are other players in this offense that we can be talking. I think Wendell Robinson is a very interesting late route flyer. I don't think he's going to see a ton of opportunities on a week-to-week basis, but I do think he's going to be involved enough. I think his role is going to be pretty decent here. And someone that does multiple things. He could run out of the backfield. He could do so many different things, and they could utilize him in so many ways. Slayton, I think he's going to be that one-trick pony for them that every now and then gives you that big game. But I think his week-to-week floor and week-to-week opportunities are going to be very volatile. So it's just a very difficult, investment in redraft formats. I think if you look at best ball, it makes much more sense. I think Singletary is fine. I think if you go with a 0 RB approach and you're just looking kind of what we said about Perine, if you're just looking for kind of points, and I don't think it's just going to be 8 to 9, maybe 10 to 14 or something like that for Singletary in that range. I think if you're looking for that kind of production and you wait around for the running back position, is fine. As far as Daniel Jones, I'll be honest, Ray, he's someone that I've been very aggressive, as a QB2 or QB3 in Superflex, formats. I just think that rushing upside that he brings to the table, he's but not the greatest of quarterbacks. We know that, but the rushing upside that he brings to the table, there's not many at that tail end of the drafts where he's going that bring that upside. So for me, he's an interesting QB2 or QB3 in these Superflex and 2 quarterback settings, or in best ball if you're drafting 2-3 quarterbacks. He's someone that I've been kind of gravitating towards.
I know Justin Fields is too, because in Jeff Mann's home league, you legitimately took him one pick before me. Which really pissed me off when you grabbed Justin Fields. I was like, oh, seriously, come on. Like, my whole draft strategy went the pot in the 11th round. Were you considering someone else at that point, or was he a target of yours? Honestly?
No, he was a target of mine because remember, it's a keeper league, and I don't need him till I think he's my quarterback 3. He was,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. He was going to be my 3rd too, but it's like, oh, damn it. Come on, man. One pick. Don't you hate that? So now it's not just you all that have people snipe picks from you. It happens to us too.
Yes.
Armando got a couple of comments here I want to ask you. Let's return to the question about the Bengals. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that Chase is either out or limited in week 1. You got Burton and you got Isiah. I always say his name wrong. Andre I. Who are we favoring here in the short term if Chase is limited or out in week 1?
Andre I think I would go slightly lean on him. I think Burton will if it's a long period of time, I think Burton long term will be, the biggest beneficiary. But if it's short term and just early on in the season, I think it's going to be Andre I.
Okay, Hal also has to follow up about Jamar Chase. Can I dream he makes it to 3-0 in a 14-team Superflex? I mean, it depends how – I see Superflex leagues where, 10 quarterbacks go in the first 2 rounds. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes it's 14. Sometimes he could fall to that point. I think it sounds pretty stupid, but I think that's possible at least, Armando.
Possible. Not if you're drafting with me, but possible in a league where I'm not drafting it. I think it is very possible given so much uncertainty and in that format specifically.
All right, let's see if they're. Oh, apparently, and I wasn't there, so I don't know. Jeff Manns did his. When is your? You're not in this. Sorry, we have a Sirius XM series of leagues. There's 4 leagues. One's Ted Schuster, one's me, one's Jeff Manns, one's Phil and Sandro, the producers. My draft is tomorrow. I think Phil and Sandro is tonight. I don't know when Ted's is. Jeff did his last night. Apparently, Jeff passed on Chase and took CMC last night. I mean, and again, you have to weigh this. So if this is an accurate report, and Jim C, you better be telling me the truth because I didn't ask Jeff. I'm now putting it out for the world. If this is what happened, I mean, again, you have to weigh the decision you want to make. And I know that Jeff has Jamar Chase in 90% of his leagues, right? If he had the early pick, so maybe you just want to diversify things up a little bit. But you have to. Do you run into this? I don't know if you do. I run into this where you say all along you've liked player X. And then something changes and you're kind of like, yeah. And then people are like, oh, yeah, you said you liked it. And it's like, well, yeah, but the situation changed.
Yeah.
So, Jeff passing him to take CMC, no one thinks that's a problem in the universe. Jeff has said take Chase ahead of CMC, but the situation's different now.
I agree 100%. And not only that, you mentioned something like diversifying, right? Like if he has 90% of Chase, does he really want to continue to take on that risk when he has an option to take CMC? I've done it in best ball. I've taken, Lamb. I've taken Amon-Ra St. Brown over Chase. I mean, I've done it in best ball myself for that reason, for that, just to diversify, not because I'm not believing in Chase, but just to diversify. And at the end of the day, you don't want to go all in 100% on the player because even if he plays, an injury will mess up your entire season.
By the way, Jim C said that he would never lie to me. So we're trusting Jim C. He followed up. He doubled down. So we believe you, Jim. Appreciate you watching and commenting every day, too, by the way. Chris F says, thank you for all you guys do and all the questions you answer again and again for people. So just Armando, Chris is saying thank you to both of us. So we appreciate that. Eric S says, it's draft week. Thank you, Ray and Armando, for all you do. Good luck to everyone. Feeling like an 8-year-old on Christmas Eve. And to put a bow on this, Armando, you came in with a big smile on your face, and you're that 8-year-old kid on Christmas Eve this week, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm locked and loaded. Like I woke up today, I set all my lineups for the week. Just I do my dummy lineups early in the week. I set them all. Obviously, news will depend. I have a lot of Chase, so something I have to monitor closely myself. And then obviously DFS. We're the DFS week as well. So gonna be a fun week, guys. Gonna be a fun week here. Week 1. We've all been waiting for it. We have been waiting for it.
And you mentioned the fact that you like the same thing every week. What is your week look like? Talk us through when do your articles come out? What does it look like so the listeners and viewers know when to expect your stuff?
All right, so I'm gonna have every Monday over Sunday overnight. So expect it Monday morning when you wake up. It'll be on the site. It's the weekly recap. I'll be doing that again this year. It's myself, and then Jeff does the plays that you didn't get to see. Then we have trending. I'm also helping out with the trending article there this year. We got the red zone review, the snap counts. These come out on Wednesdays. Thursdays, I have the defense versus position charts. We have the staff picks coming out. Those come out. We get asked a lot, so those come out every Thursday morning. All right, we're gonna have those out hopefully before noon every Thursday. Those will be live on the site, so keep an eye out for those. I got my DFS breakdown that goes live on Friday. We got this Sunday morning live stream. Chris Rose and myself every Sunday morning from 11 to 12. It's a DFS live stream where they're answering questions. And obviously, Discord. It's going to be Discord 24/7. For sure, every Sunday morning, we're locked in. The staff is locked in there. Thursdays, an hour before kickoff, the staff is locked in there. But throughout the week, we're going to be, in there, in and out of there 24/7. Like, you know how it is, Ray. So that's that's what we got going on this NFL season, plus the Mind of Marcel podcast and the Tuesday night live stream. A little bit of everything here, Ray.
Martin Marcel will be with us every Tuesday. At least that's the plan. So look for him to show up on Tuesdays with his smile and his positive attitude as I try to bring everyone down. So we'll balance each other out on Tuesdays. We'll have a good time here on the show. Armando, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you in a week. Good luck in week 1.
Yep. Good luck to everyone in week 1.
Martin Marcel of fantasyguru.com. Before we shut things down, a couple of comments here. John G says, as I said in Discord, second straight year is the highest scorer in my 14-team keeper league, thanks to fantasyguru.com. And here's the plug, and I appreciate it, John. If you're not using them, you should be. John, we can get you a retainer for that. No, we won't do that, but we appreciate the kind words, and obviously we want to give you props for the success you've had 2 years in a row, the top scoring team. It's pretty damn impressive, John. Doug M says, Ohtani is so friggin' unreal. He's a GOAT. Gotta be. I don't know how you don't argue otherwise. I agree with you, Doug. Doug says, thoughts on Clark Schmidt? Clark Schmidt is in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. So check those out. They were updated for the final time. Actually, on August 31st, I did them a day early. He's in the rankings over there. Schmidt he's going to have the opportunity, I would think, and he's going to have health on his side. They'll like to get him ramped up and all of that for the playoffs. I think that Clark Schmidt falls into the right on the edge of I'm starting him every time out zone. Maybe streaming, depending upon, what you're looking at doing with your rotation. Right on that edge. But I think once he's healthy and good to go, and we know he's going to throw 85, 90 pitches. He was really good at the start of the season. Always tough to trust guys coming back from injury, though. I will say that. We talked about that. Morning, Greg. Hello. Morning for that. Hal mentions there is a search function on Discord. Yes, there is. So people can always search. What did Armando Marcel say? What did Ray Flowers say? You can always search the answers that way. Absent-minded professor motif. We love it. Is that an absent-minded professor? I forgot. Oh, look what I did there. That's what I did there. Jeff, draft. Thanks for you guys. I'm just reading through everything we've got here, folks. Oh my gosh, auto drafting. No, by the way, if you're in one of the Sirius XM drafts, if you're going to auto draft, you're out. So don't try to think you're going to tonight or tomorrow slip it past us. If it auto picks, you're out. We're not having any auto pickers. There's like 27 million people that want to be in these leagues with us. So if you're not going to be able to do it live, let us know, and we'll replace you with somebody that is going to be able to be there. Hey, Ray, keep up the great work. I appreciate that. Tony, thank you so much. And then finally, Tony says, did you catch the Acolyte from the Star Wars show yet on Disney+? I haven't. I've meant to watch it. Here's what really happens. My significant other puts up with me and watches things like this. She's not really into it, but she'll watch it for me. And so generally I try to wait, and we watch the first episode together, and then she kind of says, I don't want to watch the rest of it. And then I'll blast through it. I haven't watched it yet. I know the reviews weren't very good. I've tried to watch it about 4 times over the last month. I'll be watching it soon. Probably watch this. Maybe I'll have Saturdays free-ish, 1 day a week. We'll see. But I haven't seen it yet, Tony. Hopefully it's better than the reviews that I've kind of heard in passing. I want to thank Armando Marcel for joining us today. Tomorrow, remember, it's Justin Fensterman's debut here. He'll be hosting every Wednesday on Fantasy Sports Daily, 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. He'll be joined, by Rich Mileto, who they'll talk football and everything. I don't know what else Justin's going to talk about. It's his show. We'll see what he talks about on Wednesdays. I assume it'll be a lot of football. He'll do that. I'll be on Monday myself, Tuesdays with Armando Marcel like today, Thursdays with Tyler Beaker, Fridays with Russell Clay. Again, 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific is when the show starts. All the guests come in about a half an hour in, so about 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. We're ready for week 1. The rankings should be up very soon over at fantasyguru.com. As Armando mentioned, we're all in Discord answering questions. When this show is over, I'll complete my cash game breakdown. I'll get the bets up for baseball today. I'll continue writing my massive article that comes out Thursday mornings, previewing the week. That article, as I mentioned yesterday, will get a lot better as we have in-season data to really mine. Right now, it's a lot of kind of, we got all these coaching changes and all that, so it's kind of tough to get a real handle on it. Player changes, too. So that article will improve. As I mentioned yesterday, stick with me. If you think week 1's a slog, it'll get better as we go forward with that. As Armando talked about, his work and everyone else's, it will be just coming out in droves at fantasyguru.com. Articles, rankings, seasonal work, DFS work, wagering work, videos, live stream, podcast. Go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, and become part of the crew over there, the Elite Mafia at fantasyguru.com. For Armando Marsal, I am Ray Flowers, and this has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by the one and only fantasyguru.com.